let's take you through a recap of what's happened at the inquiry so far today. And I should just warn you that some of the images coming up, first of all, contain flash photography. Well, Paula Vennells arrived at Warwickshire House in central London at around 7:45 this morning. Plenty of cameras and reporters there, as you can see, but she didn't answer any questions as she walked a short distance from her car into the venue. Well, Paula Vennells began her evidence today by apologising to the sub-postmasters who were affected by the Horizon IT system.
I would just like to say, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to do this in person, how sorry I am for all that sub-postmasters and their families and others have suffered as a result of all of the matters that the inquiry has been looking into for so long. I followed and listened to all of the human impact statements, and I was very affected by them.
Well, it's been quite the reaction from former sub-postmasters and postmistresses gathered here in Fenny Compton today when they heard that apology from Paula Vennells. There was lots of people shaking their heads, people with their heads in their hands and over their mouths, and there was even laughter in complete disbelief at what they were hearing from her. Well, Ms Vennells began to cry when she was questioned about a meeting she had with MPs back in 2012. During that meeting, a document shows that she said the Post Office needed trustworthy and competent staff. She also said the Horizon IT system is very secure.
I fully accept now that the Post Office, excuse me, the Post Office knew that. I completely accepted. Personally, I didn't know that, and I'm incredibly sorry that that happened to those people and to so many others.
Well, this was the reaction of sub-postmasters when Paula Vennells shed tears after she was questioned on false claims that all false accounting prosecutions had been successful. Ms Vennells cried for a third time when talking about disturbing sub-postmaster cases after Jason Beer KC recalled several examples of sub-postmasters complaining about the Horizon IT system.
What happened between you finding these 8 cases very disturbing and you shutting down the mediation scheme? When did they cease to become very disturbing?
All the cases that came into the mediation scheme were by their nature disturbing. My purpose in circulating these was from a point of view of compassion.
Well, our national correspondent Tom Parminter is with me now in Fenny Compton. And Tom, let's start by talking about the headlines, if you will, from what we've heard so far today from Paula Vennells.
This is a really significant day in the unravelling of this scandal, a scandal that is truly spread across the United Kingdom. There are people watching in the village hall here. 15 years ago, of course, this is where they first gathered to start this fight for justice, and what a distance they have come in that time. And they've heard today that triple apology that she offered at the start of her evidence at the inquiry in London. Not many people in this hall accepting those apologies or having much time for them whatsoever. They've also heard her talk about she was being very cautious around the protection of the reputation of the Post Office, but she said that that wasn't to override or her concerns for the suffering of postmasters. Again, in the hall here, we can see that just doesn't cut it with the people who have suffered so much. We've heard and seen the tears of Paula Vennells today, and we just have to remember the emotional wreckage that has been left behind in so many people's lives. There have been many tears from sub-postmasters and their families over losing their homes, losing their life savings, losing their liberty. People sent to prison. We heard from Damien, one of the postmasters from North Wales earlier. He missed his child's first birthday because he was in prison, wrongly convicted over this scandal. That is what's cost these people over these decades. And there is very short shrift, really, in this hall for what they have seen so far today and what they'll continue to see.
Yeah, we'll be getting reaction from the postmasters and mistresses gathered here today. They're breaking for lunch and a much-needed debrief because, you know, they have been very vocal as Paula Vennells is speaking. Somebody shouted, "Cry me a river," when Paula Vennells started crying. Shouts of lies. You know, they've waited so long for this evidence. What's going to happen over the course of the rest of the day and another 2 days to come? Because we're only really scratching the surface of her evidence so far.
Yeah, we're going to get into some of the real detailed evidence of who knew what and when, which, of course, is crucial in understanding all this. At the start of her apologies today, Paula Vennells said that she apologised for what was to come, really giving a big clue that the fact that this is going to be something that really sets the record of this, what has happened
Said it would be uncomfortable
in all
for
this.
her and everyone else.
The fact that she's apologising ahead of what she's about to say gives us, I think, an indication that she's going to go further than she has ever perhaps done before. This is the first time we've heard from her at length since she left the job of CEO of the Post Office in 2019. So it is a huge moment for the people in this hall, for the families who are watching all around the UK, who have been affected on so many levels for so many years. They want answers. They want the truth. They want to know why this has happened. Why were they persecuted like this? Why were they the victims of this? What was the motive? And so far, from what we've heard this morning, they've not had those answers. Will they get them at all? We don't know. But it is something that is quite gripping television, really. And they want answers here, and they've not got them yet.